We're live! Hello, everyone. As is now customary. I've been practicing. There we go. Happy Friday afternoon to you all. Hope you're all well. Welcome to my weekly Q&A here live on my YouTube channel. I will be with you for the next 20 minutes or so. Get your questions, comments in. In fact, it will be 20 minutes maximum. I know I went over it on Facebook, but I do this every Friday afternoon on YouTube, also every Wednesday afternoon on my Facebook page. Any Norwich City questions, comments, whatever you want asking. Obviously, it's been quite a busy week. Get those questions in. Big shout out before I kick on, right at the start, to Robert Payne and YouTube, who both expressed their delight at the fact that it took me 7 minutes to get into the actual Q&A last week. So yes, apologies. I know I need to get into the questions sooner. All I will say is that it takes a while to get the questions in and people to realize I'm live. So, but you know, also I'm doing this for a reason. So there we go. But pieces over at The Athletic, catch those. Lovely interview with Andrew Sermon, which was great to catch up with him on Monday morning. So give that a read. If not, it's only £1 per month for a limited time to subscribe to The Athletic at the moment. So do that if you haven't already, because it's the best time now. And don't get annoyed if I start plugging things, because, you know, that's what pays the bills. This is my free time. So there we go. Robert, Hugh, I love you. Thanks for watching. Either you're never going to watch again or you're here and taking in the improvement. There we go. Look at that. 2 minutes. What more do you want? Thanks for so many questions. Keep them coming in. As I said, I will be culling this at 20 minutes. Because it takes a while for YouTube to process it all, and it might not actually end up being sort of live to rewatch until basically kickoff, given that we're, of course, 12:30 that we kick off tomorrow. Norwich are home to struggling Derby, 1 goal, no points, 7 conceded. Norwich in a place where they probably need to pick up a win at Carrow Road in the league, because it's been a long time, even though there'll be no fans. Let's crack on then, shall we? I'll get through your questions. Keep them coming. Obviously, press conference, I'll try and throw in the updates from that as well, but you've probably seen what they actually are, and I'm sure it'll come up here. Let's go. Jacob Yates. Hello, Jacob. Hope you're well. I am well. Thank you for asking. Is it possible that some of the money that's being brought in will be spent this window, or not enough time? Norwich have done their recruitment in. I think we've seen that because they basically bought before they sold. That was the whole point. They had kind of expected there to be 3 of the crown jewels sold. So we're basically sort of coming up to 2. So I would probably expect another one to go. The money, very simplistically in my head, I see as Jamal Lewis kind of paying for the recruitment, essentially. And then we have Ben, which kind of covers the COVID hole, but there will be money left over from that. We don't know exactly what the COVID hole will be. I don't think Ben's exit, because you've got Ben Gibson in the building, I don't think Ben's exit would produce any replacement, because I think Norwich are already there. As I've said for a while, I think it's losing Todd and Emmi together where you'd see a replacement. So so that's how I see that, really. I think this will all, of course, put the club in a position where it can minimize and mitigate what is a horrendous situation for all football clubs. So Norwich will be in a relatively strong position in those terms, although weaker on the pitch. I've got no doubt about that, losing Ben Godfrey. Whether that means they will have some firepower or some money to spend in January, if the season's going well, let's hope so. That's kind of how I see it. So don't expect someone to come in just because they're selling Ben Godfrey, I would say. By the way, Ben Godfrey is currently on Merseyside. He's having his medical at the moment. I don't know if it's been completed or not, but last I heard, I would have thought it probably has been by now, to be honest. And last I heard, I wasn't expecting it to be confirmed, the move today. Could still happen. Not expecting it to. I think Norwich would probably prefer it to be confirmed after the game tomorrow, to be honest, but we will see. He might fail his medical. It has happened in other moves, but don't see any reason why it would, because Ben's in good nick and had no real major issues. So Ben Clements, good afternoon. Good afternoon to you, sir. What's your opinion on any more incomings before the deadline? So we've got sort of two deadlines, haven't we? As I said, really, I think it's losing both Emmi and Todd that would maybe start instigating a real need to bring players in. Possibly losing Max, they would need a fullback. They're the scenarios, really, because the squad's big enough, and the fact they're loaning players out tells me that there's no real desire as the squad sits to bring in more players. So, of course, we've got the international window that closes on Monday at Monday at 11 p.m. And then we have a domestic window where EFL and Premier League clubs can trade between each other. The only ones that can't are Premier League to Premier League. Everything else is on, and that window then runs to the 16th of October at 5 p.m. So, effectively, it'll all be done by the time Norwich go to Rotherham 2 weeks tomorrow, which at least means there'll be no shenanigans ahead of a match after this weekend. I mean, we've got tomorrow morning, and it's happened the last two game days, so we will see. Talk Norwich City. Hello, guys. Hope you're well. Emmi and Todd starting this weekend. Yeah, we asked obviously that of Daniel at the press conference at lunchtime, and he was extraordinarily non-committal. I didn't answer the question at all. All I know is that they've done okay in training, from what I've heard. So whether that's enough, don't know. Is Daniel going to trust them? Not sure. Todd Cantwell didn't get a call up to the England under-21 squad. I'm sure you picked up on that. And he did, and I saw someone else pick up on this on my Twitter, actually. He did really, Daniel Farke really praise Marco Stiepermann as the number 10. So I could see Marco starting as the 10. Przemysław Płacheta is out with a hamstring strain. So that does free up a position on the left. But obviously, Onel could also play that side. So, yeah, I would say there's a good chance one of Todd and Emmi starts. But then is that actually making the decision even harder on Daniel? I don't know, because then he's got to pick one of them. So we will see. Yeah, I think I can see at least one of them being in the 18, and I could see one of them starting. But I don't know, is my honest answer. And it's probably not worth me guessing, because it would just be a guess. Josh Holland, honest opinion on Mr. Rupp. Well, I always give my honest opinions, Josh, so this won't be any different to any other opinion I've given. But what I would say, he didn't ever look good enough in the Premier League, which potentially might have been part of the thinking for bringing him in. I'm not sure. He disappointed me at Luton because I thought, as I've said a few times, he did really good things in a passage, but would then end up either losing the ball or making a bad decision. So it's kind of like still not quite there. So it's disappointing. I thought against Bournemouth, we saw more of what I would expect him to be at the Championship, which is a disciplined, hardworking, actually quite technically proficient for this level player, to facilitate what's going on around him with players who are more creative. And he also came closer to scoring for Norwich pretty much. Don't forget that, which is probably an indictment of the rest of the sort of final third action, maybe, rather than praise of Lucas. But he can definitely do a job. And he wasn't the worst midfielder on the pitch for Norwich on Sunday. So, yeah, but let's see where we are. Bear in mind as well, after this international break, Norwich are playing twice a week pretty much relentlessly until Christmas. We are going to see injuries, especially given what it's been like the last year, with everything that's gone on. We are going to see injuries, and there is going to be a need for some rotation and adaptation from Daniel Farke as well, and flexibility. So all of these players are going to have to play their part. So I hope that answers your question, Josh. Jerry, keep the questions coming in, by the way. 9 minutes we've been live, going up till 20 minutes. I've kept my intro short, so keep them coming in. I'll rattle through as many as I can. Good afternoon, Jerry. Hope you're well. Surely now, with Godfrey on his way, Gibson will get his chance. Look, if Ben Gibson doesn't start tomorrow, I will be amazed. Daniel Farke does have a slight issue in that Christoph Zimmermann hasn't played a huge amount of football in the last year. Tim Klose hasn't played a lot. He played a lot in a short spell on Project Restart, but of course he'd been out for a long time before that. And Grant Hanley's been out a lot as well. And then Ben Gibson hasn't really played for 2 years. Norwich have got 4 centre-back options that probably a lot of the sides would like and look good on paper. But there is sort of a big question mark against all 4 of them could just get injured. Let's be honest. So it's difficult. And Daniel Farke said it's a concern to him. So, it is just the way it is. But yeah, I would be amazed if it's not Christoph Zimmermann and Ben Gibson on tomorrow. And I think there'll need to be a degree of patience. And I do think over the coming weeks, and I can see this, I think we're going to really miss Ben Godfrey, to be honest, because I think the way he mops up, his pace at the back, how he steps forward, how he knows what Daniel Farke wants from his centre-backs, I think Norwich are really going to miss that. And you couldn't pin anything over the opening weeks of the season really on Ben, because I thought Ben was doing superbly well. So yeah, you can't step away from the fact, however good the money is and all this sort of stuff and what their ceilings are and where they're good deals and whichever, even without Jamal Lewis, I think Norwich have missed him, because Xavi Quintilla, although he's got benefits, he's not quite as good. He hasn't quite fitted into Daniel Farke's sort of forward dynamic of a fullback. And I think Norwich are going to hugely miss Ben Godfrey over the coming month or two. Once everyone beds in, and that's obviously like the task of Ben Gibson to rise to the challenge, then we'll be in a better position. But I think there has to be a degree of that. And like personally in here, it now affects my expectations of what Norwich are looking to achieve this year, because you're asking for quite a bit of transition. And yeah, that the squad is not as strong as it was. So I think that has to be reflected, really, even though everyone else is obviously going through similar things as well. In a way, it would have been easier if Ben Godfrey had been sold like a week after the season ended, and then Norwich could have just adapted. It's almost trickier this way. Yeah. As that's in my head and how I feel about it. NCFC 1902. Hello there. 2 weeks from 5 p.m. that blasted window closes. Thank the Lord. Well, bloody. That was my quote, and obviously Daniel Farke's quote on Sunday too. What do you think of our chances of keeping Emmi now? I mean, I don't think they're any different, really. We know Emmi has gone public with really wanting a Premier League move. I do think that is the preference of him and his people, whoever they are, but his people would rather get a Premier League move than go somewhere else. And of course, they can't go somewhere else after Monday. So in a way, if you want a Premier League move and other moves are coming up, he can't turn down he can't wait for a Premier League move. It then doesn't come and then move somewhere else. Basically, if he wants the Premier League, he's kind of have to kind of ignore everything. And then that opportunity's gone and it's Premier League or nothing. So that's an interesting dynamic. I don't see him going to Fenerbahce because I don't think they've got the money. I saw Villarreal mentioned, which possibly maybe they would have the money, but if he actually doesn't want to go back to La Liga, then, or he'd rather stay and wait to see if there's a Premier League move, then he'll do that. I think Leeds are an interesting one because I know Emmi has been on their list. I know Todd is sort of on their list, although nowhere near the speculation we've had in the last week. So, I mean, and Cuisance, definitely haven't pronounced that right. Michael Cuisance, the Bayern Munich forward that Leeds were going to buy, that was going to be a bit of a coup. That's fallen through completely. So Leeds kind of do still need that player. So it's an interesting one because Leeds have got 2 Norwich players on their list and they might feel that one of those two fills the void. It'll be interesting which one they end up going for, if they do go for one of them, which they might not. So I think the chance of keeping Emmi are kind of the same as they were, really. I would not want to call it between now and Rotherham, I've got to be honest. And I'd only be guessing if I was. That's my honest answer. Simon Copperwheat. Hello, Simon. Can you play us another tune? No. I've been practicing on the ball solidly for 2 weeks. I've got my guitar in. Maybe I'll branch out to other stuff on there, but I'm not great on the melodica. But nice that you've asked. So it obviously wasn't that terrible. David Wright. Hello, David. I'm still not sure if you're the under-23s coach or not, but I like to think you are. $1 million question: with injuries, surely Emmi in the 11 tomorrow? Well, yeah, as I kind of answered earlier, I don't know. I'd be surprised if one or Todd doesn't feature in some way tomorrow. But to a degree, that's up to the players as well, isn't it? So we will see. We will see. Neil, that's because I don't know. And I don't really know if they've done in training. I know they've been okay and they've come back in a decent place after a difficult week, where Daniel Farke made the point that he had said what he'd said to the players as well. And they'd had that sort of internal discussion as well. So what you've kind of then got is the public kicking off being almost the last stage, and Daniel admitting that's because he wanted to provoke a reaction. So away he goes, don't really know what else he can do there. It seems fair enough. So we will see. And actually it's not many hours really until we find out, is it? Because the teams will be out at 11:30 tomorrow. So we will see. Neil Luther, ship ahoy, skipper. This is good, Neil. I saw you post that comment and I don't know what it means, but appreciated. Thanks. Daniel Greenleaf, lovely surname, Daniel. Hope you're well. Question: is Farke under pressure if we don't get 3 points tomorrow? Well, who from, I suppose, is the question. I mean, if I was to ask him that right now, he'd say that no one puts as much pressure as he puts on himself. I don't think he's under pressure from Stuart Webber to deliver performances or results in that way. I think there's an element that he's now lost 2 of his 4 defensive line from the Premier League, so that sort of debate of progression is getting lost a little bit, which, as I said, is going to affect the expectation levels. And but the fans, clearly, you imagine it, Derby have really struggled. Norwich is supposed to be going for the top 6 this year. If they lose at home to a Derby side who've scored 1 goal and not picked up a point yet, and have looked a bit all over the place, then it's not great, is it? So it's a really difficult one tomorrow. It's a bit of a no-lose situation, really, because I think if they win, there'd be a degree of expecting it. But, they should have it in them. So that's probably where I'd leave it for now. We'll make for another lengthy first international break of the season, because we've had a few of those, haven't we? It's generally where things have been most tricky. 16 minutes, last 4 minutes. Get your questions in. I'm going to rattle through them. Remember, we do this every week, Friday evenings. We will do it next week, even though there's an international break, sort of between 4 or 5 o'clock. Get involved, follow, subscribe to the YouTube page, leave likes and whatever you do to instigate stuff. And do it so that you remember and that I remember, because it's useful. Tristan Sanders, I don't think we expect any further transfers in, but in your opinion, do you feel we now have all the key positions covered with sufficient quality? What do you perceive Webber's view to be? Well, I don't want to speak on behalf of Stuart Webber, but I would assume he's happy with the squad he's building, because he's tried to build him the replacement for the players that he figured would probably be sold. So he will be happy. Whether Daniel's happy is an interesting thing, because obviously there's a few signings who have gone out on loan to go and get games elsewhere. I think there are some unknowns, like a centre-back. We can say who we've got, but we don't know really what condition they're in and how fit they're going to be and what form they're in. So there are real question marks, I think, which you can only really judge once things move. So I would be guessing. So that's probably what I would say. But as things stand, I think they're okay. Lose Max and both of Todd and Emmi, and I think you need replacements as well. And obviously losing Kieran Dowell for so long, I think is a real shame, to be honest. Neil Luther, any incoming rumours? No, nothing at all. I know Norwich will know who they want to bring in if they have targets or replacements that are required, but no, nothing at the moment. Kieran Gibbon, hello there. What's your preferred central midfield partnership? Yeah, I think we got asked this on the Ball podcast, and I stuttered over it a bit. I think Ollie Skip in the holding role. I think he's first one in now, even though he's learning. And then in that second role is really tricky, because I haven't really figured out what Norwich are trying to do. I mean, if Kenny needs to play much better than he did on Sunday, because the game passed him by really completely, and he felt like he struggled a bit. So that second position is a difficult one. We haven't really seen Jacob Sorensen play. Actually, that didn't come up in the presser today either. I wonder if we won't see Jacob until the other side of the international break now. Lucas Rupp, I think, could probably do the best job there, if I'm honest, at the moment. But it's a difficult one, and it is a bit weird, because Moritz Leitner or Tom Treible, the way they are, if they were in good form, you'd probably play either of them there, but they're just not an option, are they? So, but we'll see. I suppose stranger things have happened, but I can't see that one taking off. James O'Connor, if Emmi and Todd leave, can you see anyone from the 23s, as opposed to Josip Grujic, being brought into the senior squad? No, I think the 23s talent is out on loan. Anyone who's close to the team setup is in the first team setup. So it's a question of Adam Ida and Josh Martin, and obviously Akin Famewo has now been loaned out. So no, I don't really see anyone else being promoted. I think it's about who's out at the moment. ASC, are you confident on Buendia and Cantwell staying? No, absolutely not. We'll have to see how it plans out. Matt News, hello. If 2 of Todd, Buendia, Max leave alongside departures of both Jamal and Ben, what do you feel will be a realistic expectation? Well, yeah, that's a good point, because I was saying Norwich should win the division, and that was while they were pretty much all still here, and Jamal leaving was like, okay, well, that's one. I mean, at the moment, as the squad stands, losing losing Ben and then say one of Todd and Emmi left, I think it probably then has to be you've got to finish in the top 6, because don't forget that is the stated aim of the club generally, to finish in the top 26. So from maybe being, quite bullish about, look, you should win the thing because look at your squad, it's probably like, let's finish in the top 6 and see where you are at Christmas and whether you can kick on, because there might be some money, but there might not. And maybe there'll be some fans, but there might not. We've gone over 20 minutes. So last ones. Oh my gosh, there's so many questions. Wow. Finn Barker. Hello, Finn. Daniel Wright. Evening, Michael. Do you think there should be more creativity in midfield tomorrow? Yeah, but it's not always about the personnel. It's also about what they're doing. So I didn't like what Xavi Cantilla was doing. And I thought Przemysław Płacheta was running into other people's making other people's runs for them, which was just taking their space. And Onel Hernandez, I thought, had a really stodgy kind of game. So it's not just about personnel, it's about what they're doing. I think Marco Stiepermann may well start tomorrow, and I think that's a benefit because him and Teemu Pukki play well together, especially at this level. I'd love to see some sparks there. So that's probably what I would say. And there will be changes, obviously, because Płacheta is out. And it's a different game at Carrow Road. Ian Hislop. Oh, the Ian Hislop. Would you think that Sinani going and saying it's as a result of others not leaving that Todd and Emmi stays? Yeah, I mean, I do think one of the two of them will stay, and that might not have been the case at the start of the season because they may have just both gone for 25 million straight off the bat, so you didn't know. So yeah, there's an element of that. I think it makes sense for Daniel Sinani to get some games elsewhere as well, to be honest, and at a good level. So let's go and see him prove that he's basically better than the level he's now playing at, and then he should be ready for Norwich, shouldn't he? Luke Travis. Skip looked quite effective when he moved into more advanced positions and threaded balls through. I mean, I don't think that's necessarily him moving more advanced in position. It's just him sort of breaking forward, which in fairness, Alex Tettey has done under Daniel Farke more than he ever used to. So I think it's just a dynamic of the position, especially if the other holder is coming by, although also it's like a 4-1-4-1 in the second half. I think Norwich went to a 3-5-2, so there's a lot of flexibility there, and it's about choosing when to do it. But you're right, Ollie is a really talented midfielder and he can do both roles really well, I think. So it's interesting how that develops, and I think there's a confidence in him coming forward with the ball because he can do that, definitely. Good message, Keith, like that. Matt, Ben's ceiling. I think Ben can play for England, Ben Godfrey, but he does need to learn more about the centre-back position, which is why I wouldn't have minded him sort of staying on at Norwich for another year to learn the centre-back role, but he's not. Norwich is going to bank the money and away they go. Circumstances dictate, don't they? Richard Secker, mid-table fodder at most. Well, look, I'd be lying if I said there wasn't a bit in my brain that's concerned because we don't know how this is going to pan out. It's hard to judge it right now. We're going by our own expectations and judgments. So let's see where we are after 10 games, basically. I think we'll know a lot more from then, especially with how quickly they will come through the end of October and November. But to reiterate, I'm not naive and I'm not blinkered. I can see that this is kind of like, where's this going to go? It's an interesting one. Can see Jacob Sorensen in the 18, Jez. Possibly. I wonder if because they've spent so much time working on him and his conditioning that it might be too soon. We'll have to see. I think he'll be primed for after the international break. And there might not be space for him in the squad, really, when you've got other players. So I don't think there's any hurry with Jacob. And I think he might take a little bit of time, to be honest. I think that the championship will be pretty robust for him. So I don't mind them taking the time over him, to be honest. I don't think he's that player that's going to come in and be a game changer. So, but he's got a huge amount of quality and potential, and that's exciting. So I think it's a bit of one for a bit of patience, probably, with him. Uncle Mort. It was time to break up that back four. Never looked solid. Well, yeah, but we haven't seen what's left yet, have we? So let's hold opinions. Chris Williams, do you think Ida will get a chance out wide with Płacheta out? Well, that's a possibility. Possibly. But then he does start out wide, but he comes in very, very quickly. If Adam's on, the system tends to change quite quickly. So to see Daniel start with a 4-2-3-1 and have Adam as a wider role, I'm not sure I see that. I see him coming on from the bench, to be honest. Will Derby's awful set piece record this season, any scope to see? Well, I mean, I think Jordan will be hoping. I think Teemu will start because that's just set in stone. And actually, I don't think Teemu's done too badly. There wasn't much down to him on Sunday. They've just sort of got a bit lost as to what they're doing in terms of feeding Teemu. So, and he did create he did have some good chances at home to Preston. So I think we'll see how we get on. Last 2 questions, and then I'm going because I've gone over 20 minutes. Obviously, Josh Holland, get Tetty back in the mix. Yeah, but who for? He's saying Tetty Holding and Ollie pushing on. Ollie Skip. I mean, in fairness, I've earlier said I was struggling for who should play alongside Ollie. Maybe that is the answer. But would you want Tetty and Ollie Skip playing alongside each other in the midfield at home to a side that hasn't won all season? I don't know if I would. But Alex Tetty will play soon, I'm sure. Absolutely. Wooker Films, an observation. York City will feel over the moon. 2.5 million quid, probably 2 million quid for the. I mean, that is a game changer for them, and fair play because they helped produce a superb footballer. As have Norwich, of course. And Tristan Sanders, Leitner, Tribal, Drimmich, latest. They all still exist. Nothing has changed. So we'll see if anything does. But if they're going to go internationally, it's going to have to happen before 11 o'clock on Monday evening. We are done. 26 minutes, minimal intro. I hope there's no complaints, and I hope you're all happy and you have a lovely Friday evening. I'm off to have a lie down. Remember, it's a 12:30 BST kickoff. Norwich against Derby. It is on Sky, I think. So it's another reason to probably assume that Emmi and Todd might be around because it's a great shop window. First game on a Saturday. I don't know if there's a Premier League game. I think there's a Premier League game on at the same time, so it might get overshadowed, but we will see. Thank you all. We'll do this again next week as normal. Subscribe to The Athletic if you haven't. Listen to the On the Ball podcast because that's weekly on all your podcast players of choices. And we'll do this again next week, won't we? And we'll do it on Facebook on Wednesday. Check all the details on Twitter as usual. I hope you're enjoying them. Keep your feedback coming. Anything you want to see, any new instruments you want me to deliver. But in the meantime, I'll leave you by signing off with On the Ball City. Sing along at home because obviously you can't do it in the stadiums, which, by the way, is a disgrace. And I really wish people would start lobbying about that because if we're going to live with coronavirus, then we need to work out a way of making sure all the football clubs don't go bust. Yeah. Anyway, goodbye. Bollock. See you tomorrow. Enjoy yourselves. Have a great night.